What is up, Heckling Fandom? We are here. We're a little late. We've had a lot going on, or should I say, I've had a lot going on. I appreciate Joe, the workhorse, being patient with me this week. But we're going to get to your Sunday preview and make sure that you win your playoff matchup. So it's time for garbage time. Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. I am JJ running a solo this week. The workhorse already did his 2 episodes. Ryan did his 2 episodes. Ron is nowhere to be seen, but I am here, and we're going to preview this about 10 slate of games here for Sunday. Before we do that, we will recap yesterday's games. Actually turned out to be some really great games. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. So actually, we'll start with Thursday. Thursday's game, not as fun. 49ers win by 8 on the Seahawks. 49ers defense continues to be dominant. Ken Walker saved his day kind of with a long play in the fourth quarter, long reception. But ultimately, Ken Walker did okay. Christian McCaffrey did Christian McCaffrey things with 30-plus touches. Scored a monster amount of points. And George Kittle decided to show up for the fantasy football playoffs. So that was good to see. On the Seattle side, not so much. We had DK Metcalf with a pretty pedestrian game. So Metcalf wound up with 7 for 55, no scores. And then Lockett with a similar stat line, 7 for 68. No scores, and Lockett sustained an injury, which we will cover in the news. Like I said, Ken Walker wound up with around 12 points, 4 receptions for 32 yards, really saved his day as far as PPR goes. And then the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk was a huge letdown. I know I had to play him in a couple leagues, and 2 for 19 is not what you like to see in the fantasy playoffs. And, of course, Deebo Samuel did not play to continue his bust of a season. So that was really it. It wasn't really a great game. Now let's get to the great games. Saturday, at least 2 great games. We had the Colts leading the Vikings 33-0 and then losing the game. Matt Ryan, I'm not going to go into it because it's everyone's joke right now. Matt Ryan blows leads, but 33-0 when you lose the game, that is not great for Jeff Saturday's resume, who wants to be the head coach again next year. That's just not the way to get it done. Anyways, in this game, really your stars pretty much showed up besides Jonathan Taylor, who left in the first quarter with an ankle injury. I just feel like he's had that all year. He's not been himself. I really think with the Colts now with 9 losses, they should probably just put him on IR and let him take the rest of the season off, get him ready for next year. If you have Jonathan Taylor on your team, there's a solid shot you didn't make the playoffs with what he's done for you this year, but if you do, it's just another disappointing week. Also on the Colts side, we had Michael Pittman. He had 2 carries for 30 yards, and then he had 10 receptions for 60 yards. So Matt Ryan's noodle arm dink and dunked him into fantasy relevance, 19 points. So not a bad day for Pittman. He probably outdid his projections across all platforms. And then with Jonathan Taylor going out, we had 37 combined carries between Zach Moss and Deion Jackson. So Zach Moss almost doubled his carries. So that's an interesting name to look at next week on the waiver wire. Matt Ryan was terrible. Missed a bunch of throws that I saw. Had 182 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. And, yeah, he did not look good. And the Colts' conservative play style when they got up really cost him the game. Viking side went nuclear. Dalvin Cook had 17 carries, 95 yards. Then he took that screen 64 yards to the house, so he had 4 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So he showed up. Cousins, after a terrible first half, wound up with 460 and 4 passing touchdowns. He hit 40 points in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. So that is, if you started him, congrats. That's a great play. And then just Justin Jefferson just doing Justin Jefferson things. 12 receptions, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. He really has a shot to break both the reception and receiving yard record. So that was great. And then KJ Osborne has the game of his life. You probably didn't start him. Maybe you played him in DraftKings. I wish I did. I had a lineup that was pretty close yesterday, but you had to have him in it to win anything notable. 10 receptions, 157 yards, and a touchdown. Adam Thielen was kind of an afterthought, but he scored late, wound up with 3 for 41 and a touchdown, so he saved his day. So if you played him, you got away with it. And that was really it. Like I said, the Vikings completed a historic comeback, took the game 39-36. Second game was a real dud. Figured it would be. It's an AFC North. In the cold game, they're typically low scoring, and that's exactly what it was. But the Browns get a big win for them. They're 6-8 all of a sudden. If they could put together a little streak here, they could sneak into the playoffs. So Tyler Huntley, really disappointing. 17 for 30, 138, and 1 interception. You're probably not playing him, but if you remember last year when he filled in for Lamar Jackson, he did a lot more, looked a lot better, and he really brought a lot out of Mark Andrews, but that is not happening this year. Mark Andrews, another dud of a game, 3 receptions for 31 yards. He's really had a disappointing season. He's had a couple big games in the first half, but he has not done anything lately after being injured. J.K. Dobbins, another big game, 13 carries for 125. He did not score, but I believe he also had a reception, so a pretty good game for J.K. Dobbins, who isn't typically involved in the passing game. Nick Chubb, 21 carries, 99 yards, no score. Disappointing. You're disappointed if you're a Nick Chubb owner. Amari Cooper, 4 receptions, 58 yards, also didn't hit 10 points, also disappointing. Watson continued with a short game, only threw for 161 and 1 touchdown. So if you stashed him and have been trying to play him this year, obviously I think you probably did it, but I would not recommend playing him until next season when he's a little more integrated into the offense and has things more figured out. So Peoples-Jones also got in the end zone. You may have played him in the flex. He had a decent game. I believe he had more receptions than Cooper. Peoples-Jones had the same amount, 4 for 31 and a score. So not bad. Browns won this dud 13-3, where Justin Tucker missed a kick, which doesn't ever happen. And then last night we had the last game we had the Snowball Bowl. We had the Bills winning on a game-winning field goal, 32-29, and a great game versus the Dolphins. A lot of fantasy relevance here. Josh Allen did Josh Allen things. He got you to the playoffs. If you have him on your team in the playoffs, you're probably going to win after another 40-point performance, 304 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 77 rush yards. Great game. On the Dolphins side, we had Tua throw for 234 and 2, which is pretty average. But Jalen Waddle had a huge touchdown catch, 67-yarder. He wound up with 3 for 114 and a score. Mostert had 100 and almost 40 yards on the ground after a big carry in the first quarter. Tyreek Hill was contained, but he did well in the reception game. He had 9 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. So he still did his job and got you your points in the fantasy playoffs. And then receiver-wise on the other side, Stephon Diggs was kind of a letdown, 5 for 60. Gabe Davis, 4 for 65, or 56, I'm sorry. And Dawson Knox had a career day. And, of course, I'm playing against him in my most expensive home league. You know, he has a career game, 6 for 98 and a touchdown. So Josh Allen really spread it around. We also saw Cole Beasley get a target and catch it, 1 for 9 yards. So, you know, Isaiah McKenzie had 2 for 24. So the slot guys weren't really involved in the game plan. And that was it for yesterday. Some great games. The Colts and Vikings and Dolphins Bills games were awesome. Love Saturday football. Looking forward to it next week too. So next we have news, which we're going to get into right now.
News updates.
Not a whole lot in the news front, guys. I'll get into a lot of the injuries when we cover the matchups. But first bit of news, Marcus Mariota went on IR. They may have covered this on the earlier episode, I think on Tuesday. But He did go on IR, officially ending his season. So Desmond Ridder gets to finish out the last quarter of the year as a starter. He's the first Falcons rookie quarterback to start a game since Matt Ryan in 2008. So that's pretty cool. Also going on IR, Dameon Pierce went on IR, had a really strong start to the season, looked like one of the best value picks, but he has really fizzled out here at the end of the year, and his season's going to be over. So if you drafted him in a keeper league maybe or dynasty, you should be pretty excited for next year, but he is he's out the rest of the season. So I'm not sure what that backfield's going to look like between Rex Burkhead and Zigbo, but we'll have to keep an eye on that today versus the Chiefs. I don't know that they're going to be able to run the ball a lot. I have to imagine they're going to get down pretty big. So keep an eye on that. Rex Burkhead could have a game reception-wise and checkdowns with a lot of passing from the Texans. So we'll see. And Thursday, when I talked about the Seahawks game, I mentioned Tyler Lockett sustained an injury. He broke the metacarpal bone in his hand, and he had to have surgery. Now they're saying that he may be able to play through it. It's not really clear yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on. I feel like that has to be really painful. The Seahawks are in an interesting position. Obviously, they started the year really strong, but now they're 7-7. They've really slowed down. I have to imagine they're going to try and go for it and sneak into the playoffs. So I do think he probably returns at some point this season, but keep an eye on him. Gino does love him, though, so we'll see. And I think that's really all I had for the news, guys. Before we get into the preview, let me remind you first, if you like what you hear, follow us here on YouTube. Our Twitter is under my ugly face, garbage_time FF. Anywhere there's a podcast, you can probably find us. We're on Pandora, Amazon, Spotify, Simplecast, you name it, we're there. So find us. Also, speaking of platforms to find us, here is our signed Miles Sanders card. It is still winnable. We're running out of time, though. The season is almost over. So just a reminder on how to enter. You got to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and comment that you're a member of the Heckling Fandom, or just let us know that you entered. We'll throw your name in a hat. Literally the hat. Ron is going to draw the names out of his crusty Giants hat, and we will announce the winner at the end of the fantasy season. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this game previews. All right, let's get this going. So, first game, Eagles, Bears in Chicago, Philly 8.5-point favorites. So, who are you playing in this game? Well, you start your Eagles versus the Bears defense. I can tell you that right now. There was some speculation that Dallas Goedert may be activated off IR earlier in the week, but they did not do it, so he is not eligible to play in this one. So, no Dallas Goedert. So, definitely start your A.J. Brown, your Devontae Smith. You're starting Miles Sanders versus that terrible Bears run defense, and obviously you're starting Jalen Hurts. This could be a really good matchup. The Bears offense, when Justin Fields is in, is just different. So this could be a back-and-forth game where a lot of fantasy points are scored. So I just covered the Eagles side. The Bears side, there's three guys you can consider. Obviously, you can play Justin Fields. It is a tough matchup versus Philly's defense, but I think they can be had by the mobile quarterback. So I think Fields runs one in today, probably throws in one or two, has a solid fantasy day. You can play David Montgomery, though it is a tough matchup versus a tough run defense. He gets involved in the passing game. And speaking of the passing game, Chase Claypool is out in this game, and obviously Darnell Mooney is on IR. So it's Dante Pettis, N'Keal Harry, all these journeyman wide receivers. So you could see guys like David Montgomery or De'Aaron Evans at running back maybe get some catches. And then, of course, at tight end, Cole Kmet, one of Fields' favorite targets. I think he could have a good game here. So if you're in a pinch in the fantasy playoffs, I think you can definitely play Kmet. they're going to have to throw in this one. And I can see him having around 7 catches and maybe a touchdown. Definitely think he's going to be involved in the offense more. So that is really it, I think. So, bad matchup for the Bears offensive players, but I think with what they have left, the 3 guys you can play will all be relevant. And then the Eagles start them all. I got the Eagles winning that one, unfortunately. Falcons Saints next game is in New Orleans. Saints 4-point favorites. So this is a tough first game for Desmond Ridder. Obviously, you're not playing him unless you're in like a 16 or 20 team league and you had Kyler Murray or something. But I'm not playing Desmond Ridder. Drake London, I mean, if you want to start him in the fantasy playoffs, that is you. Marshawn Lattimore is questionable. He could be back for this one, so that's obviously bad. I would not start any other Falcons pass catcher. And if you want to start Cordero Patterson, you can. Saints at home are typically really tough against the run. I'm just not intrigued by any Falcons. On the Saints side, Kamara should be in a smash spot here, but, he has not done that lately. That's for sure. I think if you have him, you got to play him at home versus the Falcons. It should be a great matchup. And then Chris Olave, you're playing him. And I think that should be it for the Saints. I'm not starting anybody else. I think that really covers that one, guys. Kamara, Olave, and that's really all you want to look at in this game, in my opinion. I'm not getting too cute with it, especially in the fantasy playoffs. So next game. Oh, by the way, I have the Saints in that one. Next game, Lions and Joe's Jets. This game got a whole lot more interesting when we found out that Mike White will not act, so Zach Wilson gets to go again. So this is a huge spot for him. He really needs to take advantage of this opportunity. He does personally, but as far as fantasy-wise, I'm not that excited that he's starting. We saw Garrett Wilson start to explode with Mike White. We saw Elijah Moore start to get more integrated, and now comes back the cancer that is Zach Wilson. Has he figured it out? Is he going to be more mature? Is he going to, play better? It's, I actually have to start him in a 16-man league where I had Kyler Murray. So I hope he does something versus the Lions defense that is not very good. So if you have Garrett Wilson, you got to play him the way he's been playing. Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight. All of a sudden, I don't like him as much because you know how our fellow podcaster Ron likes to point out that Zach Wilson does not like to check down to his running backs. He likes to just miss wide receivers just down the field and throw it away or throw interceptions. So I think you can play him. I think they're definitely going to try and get the run going versus Detroit and take some of the pressure off Zach Wilson. And he appears to be the lead back. He looked more effective than Michael Carter in the last game. So I think you can play Bam Knight in a flex or RB2 spot if you're in a pinch and lost like Damian Pierce or someone like that. But be wary. It's not the Mike White offense. It's the Zach Wilson offense, and we don't really know what that's going to look like here in Week 15. So really the only player I'm comfortable starting from the Jets on offense is probably Garrett Wilson. Conklin got a little bit going with Wilson earlier in the year, so maybe him if you're in a real tough spot tight end wise, but not super excited about it. On the Lions side, more question marks. You're probably not playing Goff, though he's played pretty decent this year. The Jets defense is no joke, and it's cold out and it's at MetLife. I think the Lions offense could get slowed down a little bit. They've been red hot lately, but the Jets defense is no joke, and they know they're going to have to come play today with Zach Wilson starting. So I think you could see a real focus from them. So I'm worried about it. DeAndre Swift, I have to start him in a couple leagues, and I'm not excited about it. That Jets D-line is no joke. Sauce Gardner, I don't know if he's going to follow around St. Brown, but you're playing St. Brown if you have him regardless. And then other than that, besides Jamal Williams, who leads the NFL with 14 rushing touchdowns, there's not really a lot of excitement for me playing Lions this week. I really think the Jets defense could slow the Lions down here. So I think this is going to be like a 20-17 type game. I don't see a ton of fantasy production coming from anyone in this one. But I told Joe I was going to switch the pick to the Lions once they announce Mike White's out. But I'm going to stick with the Jets. I think that defense steps up big for them in a must-win game. I think they steal this one from the Lions. All right, next game. My boy Mitch, he's starting this one versus the Panthers. They say he, quote unquote, he's going to be on a short leash with Mason Rudolph as the 2, with Kenny Pickett out with a concussion. So we saw Mitch sling the ball all around the field, but he threw 3 picks. But that's the way he needs to play. Like, he doesn't care, and that's when he's most effective. So he started to get George Pickens involved. We know him and Deontay Johnson. If you haven't heard it, they don't like each other. So I don't know how well he's going to play. But I think Pickens is okay as a flex if you're in a deeper league. I'm not pumped about it. If you have Najee, you can probably play him in this one. Mitch isn't afraid to throw to the running back either. So Najee's been a bad year, but I think you can play him in this one. Deontay Johnson does not have a receiving touchdown this year. If you want to play him in the fantasy playoffs, that's you. But I'm not excited to do that. I would try and find other options, especially, like I said, with Mitch starting. They do not really get along. So there's not a lot of chemistry there. On the other side of things, one of the biggest question marks in this one was DJ Moore sustaining that ankle injury last year, which cost me a bye week in our Dynasty League playoffs. Really upsetting. Anyways, they're saying he's expected to play. We'll know who's active and who's not here in, let's see, 2 hours, about 2 hours. So keep an eye on DJ Moore. Deontay Foreman. Steelers' run defense has been playing better lately, but I think you can play him. He's the clear lead back. And then Sam Darnold starting, unless you're in a 2 QB league, I'm not playing him, obviously. In this game, I have Carolina at home. And, yeah, that's who I'm picking. One guy I didn't mention, Pat Freiermuth. Obviously, you're probably starting him if you have him. And the battery in my laptop is lower than I would like, so we're gonna boogie a little bit here. Next game, Cowboys Jaguars. This one is in Jacksonville. This is an interesting game. This could be a trap game for the Cowboys. The Jaguars have been playing better lately. Trevor Lawrence has been playing better lately. Can that Dallas pass rush get home today? I don't know. There is a lot of fantasy relevance in this game, though. So if you have Dak, you can play him. Tony Pollard, you're playing him. CeeDee Lamb, you're playing him. Zeke, you're probably playing him. On the other side, Trevor Lawrence, I think he's playable. He's had a good year. I think this could be I think they can score on the Cowboys at home. I do. So I think he throws for 275 and 2 to 3 touchdowns. That's my projection for Trevor Lawrence. So if it's a 12 QB league, you're probably not playing him, or 12 QB league, 12-man league. You're probably not playing him, or he's fringe. He's right there, maybe. Travis Etienne, you're playing him. Christian Kirk, you're playing him. Zay Jones is playable. You can play him as a wide receiver 3 flex type. I think, he's probably going to be in the 13 to 15-point range. He's really been peppered with targets. So I'm comfortable playing Zay Jones this week in the fantasy playoffs. And I may have to do that in a week. So go Zay Jones. That's really it for that one, guys. Schultz, I forgot to mention on the Cowboys side, you're definitely playing him. He's now right up there in that top 5 tight end territory again with the way he's been playing lately. So I have no problem playing Dalton Schultz. Next game, I shouldn't even have to announce my pick for this one, but we got the Chiefs going to Houston to face the Texans. They are 14.5-point favorites, and I think that still may be too low. The Texans in full tank mode have not been good. Mahomes leads the NFL in passing touchdowns. So we got Mahomes, you're playing. Pacheco, you're playing versus the 32nd ranked run defense. He should really have a good game here. I would not be surprised if he ran for $150 and a score. Like, this is a great matchup for them. Travis Kelce, absolutely playing him. And then I think you can play Juju in the flex. Only thing that worries me about this game, and we've seen it with the Texans are actually number 1 in the league against fantasy quarterbacks. And I think part of it is because teams get up so big on them that they can just coast and run the ball. And that's why they're 32nd against the run. So that really worries me about this one. I'm hoping that the Texans come to play today and can somewhat keep enough pace where Mahomes has to keep throwing. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that aspect of things. So keep an eye on that. On the Texan side, Chris Moore, you can maybe play in the flex. Nico Collins is not going to play. Brandon Cooks is not going to play. Damian Pierce is on IR. So if you want to roll the dice on one of those, on Rex Burkhead in the fantasy playoffs, more power to you. It's risky. It's high risk, high reward. I really think he could be king of the check down game today, but we'll see. So keep an eye on that. And then obviously you're not starting Davis Mills. Yeah. So Chiefs defense is also a solid play. The Texans should have to throw a lot, and that means probably turnovers. I clearly picked the Chiefs in that one. Next game, Cardinals, Broncos. There's no let's ride this game. Russell Wilson shall be out. So I believe he shall be out with a concussion. And so will Kyler Murray. So we have Colt McCoy. Let me just make sure Russ is out. I'm almost positive he is. Let me see. Russell Wilson. Yeah, guys, I should have known that, but I didn't. Yes, he is ruled out. So no Russ. So we're going to have Rippon starting this one. So let's get to the Cardinal side first. You're playing James Conner. You're playing DeAndre Hopkins. Even though it's a tough matchup, you got to start him, guys. Hollywood Brown, keep an eye on it. He was sick. Again, it's a bad matchup. I'm not super pumped about, but yeah, you got to play him probably in the flex if you got him. On the Broncos side, Jerry Jeudy, you saw what he did without Sutton and Hinton there. I'm playing Jerry Jeudy if you have him. And then at running back, good luck. Latavius Murray, Mike Boone, Marlon Mack, pick your poison. Probably Murray's the top, but not excited about it. Dud of a game. I think this is another 2017 type deal. I believe I picked the Broncos at home in this one. Next game, Ryan's Patriots versus the Raiders in Vegas. Big storyline in this one is Ramondre Stevenson. So he is expected to play, but this is Bill Belichick we're talking about here. So is this a T. Higgins situation where he's active and then he doesn't see a snap? Like I could see Belichick doing that. Maybe it's like a form of gamesmanship. I don't know. I really don't like that situation at all. It's making me uncomfortable. I am in a predicament in a league where I have Ramondre Stevenson in my flex, but I'm considering putting like a Zay Jones or maybe someone safer in there. So the Vegas run defense doesn't really scare you, but you worry about the health of Stevenson. Definitely keep your eye on the actives, inactives, and keep your eye on their beat reporters and see how he's looking in pregame. It's a big decision for you in the fantasy playoffs. I know Stevenson's been an RB1 this year and you want to play him, but just be careful. We know how Bill Belichick likes to screw around and does not care about fantasy football. So really monitor that situation closely. He's probably the only one on the Patriots you're playing. So I'm just going to move on to the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, the RB1 of the season. You're playing him. You're playing Devontae Adams. Darren Waller was activated. I probably should have said this in the news, but Darren Waller was activated from IR. You can play him. The tight end position is very dry, as we know. So you can play him. Derek Carr, if you want to trust him versus the Patriots, that's on you after his 2-point performance last week. If I'm in the fantasy playoffs, I'm not putting it in the hands of Derek Carr. So I would play Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and I would play Darren Waller. And I think Hunter Renfrow got activated too, but I'm not playing him. Before he went out, he was a dud. I took the Raiders in this game for some reason. I guess because they're at home. But that doesn't mean as much these days. All right, next game. The absolutely decimated Titans. They're missing like 5 starters on defense. They're missing their left tackle. They're missing Treylon Burks. Yeah, it's not a good situation for the Titans. So you're starting Derrick Henry. That's it. I'm going to keep it simple. There's no one else on the Titans that I'm playing. Maybe Robert Woods if you're in absolute desperation, because I can see the Titans getting down. On the Chargers side, it's another story. The Titans defense is trash. So you're playing Eckler, you're playing Justin Herbert, you can play Mike Williams. Keenan Allen, Palmer is in consideration for a flex. He still was relevant last game, but didn't do a lot with both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams active. They both kind of stepped up. So I would try and fade Palmer if possible. But, start your Chargers. This is a great matchup for them. They really should win this game. They need this game. I think they come to play today and have a good game. So I like Herbert a lot this week. I think that is it for that one. Start your guys. You know who to start. You play Gerald Everett at tight end if you need to. I picked the Chargers. Like I said, battery's getting low, guys. 2 more games. We have the 9-4 scorching hot Bengals going to Tampa to play the sputtering Buccaneers, first place in the NFC South somehow. Tampa's defense is not as, terrifying as it was the past couple of years, but they're still respectable. So keep your expectations in check. The T. Higgins saga continues. He is expected to play today, but is he going to play today, Zach Taylor? You douchebag. You can't do that to fantasy owners. Say we just didn't want him out there and let him put up a 0 for these people. That cost people the fantasy playoffs. Zach Taylor is on the shit list for coaches, fantasy-wise. He joins Bill Belichick and Arthur Smith, who also said stuff about fantasy owners this year. So keep an eye on T. Higgins. I believe he's going to be active, and you probably got to try and play him. Same with Tyler Boyd with his finger injury. I think he plays. You're playing Jamar Chase. You're playing Joe Mixon. You're playing Joe Burrow. It's that simple. Flipping to the other side, Joe last week got me on the call with Brady. I said he'd throw for 250 and 2. He threw for 250 and 1 with a pick. So I'm done with Tom Brady. I'm done with him. Though he is going to throw 250 and 2 again, at least today at home. But if you have him, I would start Fields over him. Trevor Lawrence is fringe starting over him. It's been a terrible season. He's not got it done. Though he throws the ball a lot, the results have not been there. So if you want to put your faith in Tom Brady, he does play his best football in the playoffs, right? So maybe you can trust him now that we're in the playoff season. But it's a gamble, folks. Running back wise, Fournette and Rachaad White, I think, are both viable. They've been pretty interchangeable, kind of a 1A and a 1A and a 1B. There's not a clear-cut 1 and 2. They're kind of split in carries, so I think both are relevant. You can play both as an RB2. Pass catchers-wise, if you have Evans and Godwin, you're starting them. Evans is 200 yards away from his 1,000-yard streak continuing. He's going to get going. So, interesting game. I don't know what's going to happen with this one. I keep saying all year, no, I'm picking the Bucs. Brady's going to show up, and then he just doesn't show up in the games I think he's going to. So, not super excited about this one, but, we'll see what happens. I'm going to take the Bengals to stay hot, but this game could get weird, and I could see Brady all of a sudden having a great game just because it's Brady. And the last game on the slate, an interesting game, Ron's Giants, Sunday Night Football versus Washington. Both teams are 7-5-1. I wonder how many times that's happened in league history. This is an interesting one. I'm just going to say off the bat, I'm picking the Commanders in this one. The Giants have really been sputtering. But anyways, fantasy-wise, on the Giants side, I'm playing Saquon Barkley. And that's it. I know Slayton has done some decent things, but at the end of the day, he has 600 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. I'm not excited about him. There's not enough of a trust factor there for me where I'm going to trust a Giants pass catcher these days. Daniel Jones only has 12 touchdowns. So I'm playing Barkley from the Giants, and that is it. On the Commanders side, obviously I'm not playing a quarterback. Running back, this saga continues. The Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson dilemma. I think Robinson probably leads in touches again, but you can play Gibson if you need to in a pinch. Leonard Williams is questionable. I'm not sure if he's going to play this week. Ron maybe could help me out with that injury report, but he's not playing. Or I don't know if he's playing or not, but that makes a difference in the run defense. But I think Robinson and Gibson are both viable. It's a tricky situation to navigate around. You just kind of have to get lucky with that one. So keep an eye on that. Pass catcher wise for the Commanders, really Terry McLaurin. We've seen Dotson do some good things this year, and I think he scored last week, but you can't trust that in fantasy playoffs. So hopefully McLaurin can get another touchdown. He's only got 3 on the season. He should be able to, but we'll see. Let me check his game log. I think he had a good game the last time they played the Giants. Let me check this game log here. See. Yeah. That overtime game that they just had with him, he had 8 for 105 and a touchdown. So, the Commanders, the last time they played was against the Giants. So they're playing them again. There should be a fun one, I think, actually. So you definitely play McLaurin if you have him. And that's really it. I think I covered everything. Went through a speed round here. We're wrapping this up in less than 40 minutes, which is good, which means you can watch this real quick before this week and win your fantasy playoffs. So probably should have gone a little later. Maybe we would have got some more start and sit questions, but we got through these games. Quickly recap Thursday and Saturday. Again, I apologize. Had a lot going on. Pet emergencies, unknown Christmas festivities that I was signed up to go to. But remember, this is not our primary job. We just do this because we love you guys and we love fantasy football. So with that being said, best of luck on your fantasy playoffs. I'll have my phone on me. So if you have any start sit questions, you need anything fantasy wise, you're in a pinch, hit me up on that Twitter link. We got Joe, Garbage Time Fantasy Football on Instagram. Look him up, comment on his videos, give him some shit. If you want to give us some shit, go to garbagetimeff.com. Leave us a voicemail, talk some smack to us, talk some playoff smack to us. We'll play it live on air, no matter what you say. That's it, guys. Love you all. Keep coming back, and good luck in your fantasy football playoffs. We'll talk to you soon next week. Peace.